evening. Little bedtime story about London. Pirates. Barclays banker. You're such a Barclays banker. I'm sure you can work out what the Cockney rhyming slang for that one is. Londinium in itself. Judges. Captain Cook. Lighter. Canary Wharf. Chinatown. You're going to get a little bit of, I don't know, a bit of the sovereignty, bit of governor, and a bit of Suggs. Surprise. Bedtime story while we're all in amongst this limbo of lockdown limbo and bullishising that's going off. So if you speak up and you say, "What's up?" I'm going to shout you out. I'm going to download this and put it onto Tube as well. We're going to share this around the realm. It's a little bit of David and Suggs for you, I'm afraid, on this Sunday, the 21st of February. So we got Suggs going to take us on a trip. Capers and Chaos. He's going to craft another love letter and take us trip round London's Docklands, the Wharf, performed by Suggs, written by Suggs, with a man called Owen of the Lewis family, directed by Owen of the Lewis fam, musical director Owen of the Parker fam, producer Richard Melvin, and it's a Dabster and Sovereign G and SPLS Pro production. Are you ready for a little bit of geezer? He's a real diamond geezer, a real crowd pleaser. Take it away, Suggs, let me hear it. Give it to the fam.
Docklands, that small U-bend on the River Thames. It's been at the heart of Britain's maritime history for centuries.
Yeah, I know.
Integral to the prosperity of London since Roman times.
They're Roman.
Explorers sailed away on voyages of discovery from here. Colonies were established and a great empire grew. Vast amounts of exotic goods from across the world were unloaded on this stretch of water. Funding those ships and cargoes made the City of London the world's financial centre. But this artery to the city soon became congested by the ever-growing number of ships. It was said there were once so many boats here that you could walk from one side of the Thames to the other without touching the water. So they built a vast network of inland docks for the vessels arriving from every corner of the globe. London became the world's greatest port city. The Germans bombed the living daylights out of the docks and they became pretty much derelict. But by the end of the 20th century, that desolate wasteland had been transformed into Docklands, a new financial centre. Yeah, Docklands, the future, a new way to live. It was skyscrapers, it was luxury flats, it was going to be the Manhattan of the East End. As if. A futuristic driverless railway that goes through the air, the DLR, like something out of Dan Dare. Everything upwardly mobile. And the yuppies. Yes, a right bunch of Barclays bankers. Gordon Gekko. Mobile phones with car batteries. Suits with the sleeves rolled up. Black leather. Everything. Towers reaching to the skies in supplication to the god of Mammon. I saw an advert in the Evening Standard.
Mammon?
They were doing show tours of the luxury flats. Mind, there are only two finished at this point amongst the wasteland. But the advert said, if you bought a penthouse apartment off-plan, they'd throw in a Porsche. So, me and my mate Paul put our ties on, rolled up the sleeves of our suits and headed on down there. We had no intention of putting a deposit on anything, but bang up for having a go on a Porsche. Next thing, much to the consternation of the slippery estate agent, we were donutting around in this Tangerine 911, dodging giant cranes in this enormous building site, what we all know now as Canary Wharf. On the very site of what was the West India Dock, where all the plunder from the Caribbean was unloaded.
Yeah,
cotton, tobacco, coffee, rum and sugar, all of which was harvested on the backs of slaves.
Oh, yes.
From here, the West India merchants traded. Like the Royal Africa Company, who shipped more Africans to the Americas than any other company in the history of the slave trade.
Yeah, man.
The Bank of England financed the voyages. Lloyd's of London insured the ships.
Of course.
The Barclay brothers also invested.
Of course they did.
London swiftly became the financial centre of the slave trade.
It did indeed.
And how ironic, the Barclays Bank has its headquarters here in West India Quay at Canary Wharf.
No way.
But aside from the West Indies, Britain had a lucrative trade with the Chinese. They'd give us porcelain, silk and tea. Marvellous.
Yeah.
And in grateful reciprocation, we peddled them opium.
We peddled them opium. Okay, then, just let that thought, linger on there.
Nice. Some of those Chinese crew that came off the clippers, like the Cutty Sark, stayed in Limehouse and created London's original Chinatown. For some reason, this inspired terror in the hearts of the English middle classes. Writers had a field day with stories of murder in gloomy riverside alleyways, smoky opium dens, and innocent English girls ravished by the Chinese reprobates. Limehouse is where Sherlock Holmes goes to score opium, and where that mustachioed arch-villain Fu Manchu had the headquarters of his evil empire.
Fu Manchu.
But when the docks were devastated by the Luftwaffe, Chinatown moved to Soho. But there's still one shining beacon of that old community, the Royal China in Canary Wharf.
Me old China.
One of the best and my family's favourite Chinese restaurant in London. On a Sunday afternoon, there's nothing me, my wife and my two lovely daughters like more than to head down the Regent's Canal for a Sichuan dumpling. It's a lovely thing walking down the canal, below the hustle and bustle of the city above. The herons, the moorhens, the coots all making nests. Fellas fishing, for bicycles and shopping trolleys. Ah, lovely. It's a good old walk from North London, mind. Eventually spitting us out in Limehouse Basin. Limehouse, the main entrance to the entire national canal network. Lightermen would unload cargo from the ships on the Thames onto barges and send them back up the canal we've just walked down to stoke the engine of the Industrial Revolution. And it's just a short walk now to the Royal China. But after all that walking, we're a little bit thirsty, so we head for a quick one in the Grapes. Ah, the Grapes. Dickens' favourite. It features in Our Mutual Friend as the Six Jolly Fellowship Porters.
Ships.
Standing there with a pint of beer on the balcony that hangs suspended over the river, it's easy to imagine the watermen climbing up the ladder from the water below to slake their thirst. It's a proper riverman's pub. I was once lucky enough to meet one of the last remaining lightermen. After a few beers, he told me an unforgettable story about being a kid, lying on his back on his dad's boat, heading downstream with his eyes shut. And he could tell you what part of the docks he was in just by the smell. Bananas, tea, coffee, cinnamon, spices, depending on what wharves he was floating past. Different times. But where there's large amounts of cargo being loaded and unloaded, there's going to be a bit of, well, let's call it siphoning.
Oh, yeah.
He told me it got to the point in the docks where there was a policeman at every gate. His uncle would leave work every night with a wheelbarrow covered with a blanket, and the copper would say, "Oi, what's in that, sunshine?" And he'd lift up the blanket and say, "Nothing." Every day, nothing. This went on for months. Years later, he bumps into the retired copper in the barley mow in Shadwell, and the copper says, "Yeah, look, do me a favour, put me out of my misery. What were you nicking?" He takes a sip of his beer, looks him in the eyes and says, "Wheelbarrows." Well, after spending some time drinking up the rich atmosphere, 2 bottles of Prosecco and a couple of pints of Guinness, we step back out onto the streets of Limehouse. Now, the great thing about the Royal China is it's open all day, and now we've got the flavour. So we head whopping way to the prospect of Whitby. I'll tell you what, this gaff has got some history. It's been a pub on this spot since 1520. Used to be known as the Devil's Tavern because of its dubious clientele. It was a proper dodgy den of sailors, smugglers and scurvy sea dogs. I love this stuff. My 2 daughters and my wife are looking a bit bored at this point, but I've really got the wind in my sails. Oi, listen, that old bastard hanging Judge Jeffries used to like nothing more than sitting on the terrace here, sipping his pint, watching pirates being hanged on the shoreline. And any sailor could find himself at execution dock for smuggling, mutiny, sodomy, or piracy.
What?
Yeah, and kids, why are pirates called pirates? Oi, leave it out, Dad, because they just are.
Oh, sub.
What should we do with a drunken sailor? What should we do with a drunken sailor? What should we do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? Hooray, and up she rises. Hooray, and up she rises. Hooray, and up she rises early in the morning. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor. Shave his belly with a rusty razor early in the morning. And I'm somewhat surprised that in this ancient seafaring tavern, no one else is joining in. And one of the most famous pirates to be killed here was Captain Kidd. Oi, well spotted. You're right, that's the next pub down. Come on, drink up. And we stagger down the road and into the Captain Kidd. It's a lovely clear night, so we sit outside, overlooking the dark flowing river. He was a wily old sod, was that Captain Kidd. Buried his loot so no one could find it. He was the inspiration for Long John Silver.
Channel.
He was a renowned sailor, but they changed the rules while he was out at sea. He left as a privateer and returned as a pirate, and was hanged here at Execution Dock. Just for good measure, after they hanged him, they left his body till 3 tides had washed over his head and stuck his decomposing body on a pole for all to see as they sailed past.
Channel.
But of course, one man's privateer is another man's pirate. You Walter Raleigh, Francis Drake, knighted by the Queen, heroes. But you asked the Spanish what they thought of them. The captains whose gold they plundered, the towns they raped and pillages. Still, yeah, good lads, you know, give them a knighthood.
Don't like it.
You teased the youth about Christopher Columbus, and you said he was a very great man. You teased the youth about Marco Polo, and you say he was a very great man. You teased the youth about the pirate Hawkins, and you said he was a very great man. You teased the youth about the pirate Morgan,
Go on, Sug.
and you said he was a very great man. So you can't blame the youth. No, you can't fool the youth.
What?
You can't blame the youth of today.
Blame the youth.
No, you can't fool the youth.
Put the blame on
All
me.
these great men were doing raping, kidnapping, and killing. So cold, great men were doing robbing, raping, and kidnapping.
Don't like it. On
There's
that
no
one.
way around it. It's all piracy in the end. Colonialism. That's all it basically is, nicking stuff that wasn't ours.
Good old London.
And this idea of discovery? Don't give me discovery. What are you lot doing here? What? Never mind indigenous. Do you know how long it took me and my mates to get here? To discover your gaff? Wait, and get your hands off that gold and all. That's mine, by the way. I turn round and everyone's gone back inside the pub. I look right down the Thames, sparkling in the moonlight. And hang on, that's the town of Ramsgate. So, there we are at the bar, in the town of Ramsgate. And as he's pulling my pint, the barman is absolutely fascinated. Did you know? Yeah, mate, a pint was a dangerous thing in this pub. 'Cause some nice fella would offer you a beer. That's kind, don't mind if I do, and then he'd offer you another one. That's mighty generous. But before you knew it, you'd wake up on a boat in the middle of the Thames. You'd just signed your life over to His Majesty's Navy, press-ganged.
Shanghai.
The barman's wandered off. I take the drinks over to my wife and daughter sitting in the corner. I know they're a bit bored, but I love this stuff. And never mind homeschooling, this is proper interesting. It's good for them. Now listen, do you remember that hanging Judge Jeffries I was on about? Don't leave it out. No, hang on, kiss a chance. 3 kisses, he got his nickname. Oh boy, did he love an hanging. After the Monmouth Rebellion, he sentenced 300 rebels to death. But he wasn't completely cold-hearted. No, he let another 500 off with transportation. After the Glorious Revolution, James II had to leg it out of the country, leaving his old pal the judge in the lurch. And believe me, he was shitting himself, so he dressed up as a sailor. He was waiting for a boat to get out of the country, but they caught him right here in the town of Ramsgate. Oh, I know you, you horrible little bastard. Don't you yo-ho me. You tried to have me hanged. And he was bundled, terrified, begging for his life into the tower. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer man. Oi! Viva, my youngest, is the first to wake up. Dad, I'm starving. So we all stagger, slightly worse for wear, back in the direction of the Royal China. Crossing the bridge over the Limehouse Basin, Viva says to me, Dad, it looks like they've got newspapers all over the windows. I said, don't worry about that. We've been going here for years, I know the owner. But guess what? When we get there, it's shut.
Lockdown.
At this point, it would be fair to say I am not popular. I consider disguising myself as a sailor. I'm surrounded by a hungry, drunken, angry rabble. But amongst it arguing, my elder daughter, Scarlett, pipes up. Hold on, look, it's the jetty for the Clipper. They're open all day in Chinatown. We could get the riverboat and go up west. There's a huge cheer. I'm saved. Sichuan dumplings, here we come. For those that don't know, the Thames Clipper goes from Canary Wharf all the way down to the embankment. Drops you off literally 5 minutes from Gerrard Street, Chinatown. I decide to wrestle control of this disaster. Stand back. I'll get the tickets. At this rate with you lot, we'll end up at the Thames Barrier. Calm down. I've got this. So we pile on the boat and get settled in for the 40-minute journey up west. Lovely seeing the Thames at this time of night. Beautiful. The moon reflecting off the water. Puts me in mind of those lightermen plying their trade. The romance of the river. All them lovely lit-up bridges. Tower Bridge, London Bridge, Waterloo Bridge. We'll be on the embankment in no time. Hold on a minute. Why have we stopped?
Please disembark here for Rotherhithe.
Oh, balls. I've only gone and bought tickets for the ferry. A shuttle service from one side of the river to the other. Everyone's giving me daggers. Wait, what do you mean that was the last one? Oi, wait! As I stand in front of my highly disgruntled family at 10 p.m. at night in Rotherhithe.
I think that's where our Kev is, I'm not sure.
Which is not much more than a huge suburban housing estate, on the very spot where the pirates' bodies were hung as a gruesome message to others.
Yeah, I know.
I'm particularly glad there's no rope hanging about.
Don't like it.
I met my girl at Woolwich Pier, beneath a big crane standing. And all the love I felt for her, it passed all understanding. Took her sailing on the river, flow, sweet river, flow. London town was mine to give her, sweet Thames, flow softly. At London Yard I held her hand, at Blackwall Point I faced her. At the Isle of Dogs I kissed her mouth and tenderly embraced her. Heard the bells of Greenwich ringing, flow, sweet river, flow. All that time my heart was singing, sweet Thames, flow softly. Limehouse Reach I gave her there, flow, sweet river, flow. As a ribbon for her hair, sweet Thames, flow softly. From Shadwell Dock to Nine Ells Reach, we cheek to cheek were dancing. A necklace made of London Bridge, her beauty was enhancing. Kissed her once again at Wapping, flow, sweet river, flow. After that, there was no stopping. Sweet Thames, flow softly. From Rotherhithe to Putney Bridge, my love I was declaring. And she from Kew to Islewood, her love for me was swearing. And now, alas, the tide has changed. My love, she has gone from me. And the winter's frost has touched my heart and left its blight upon me. Swift the Thames flows to the sea. Flow, sweet river, flow, bearing ships and part of me. Sweet Thames, flow softly.
That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, weren't it?
And a hop, skip and a jump from Rotherhithe to the west, and you're in Deptford. Deptford. Proper old Docklands.
Det and Ford, much like ox and Ford, bull, Ford, water, stopping, Det, stopping, whopping, shocking.
Where the boats of the Royal Navy were built, men of war, the ships that fought the Spanish Armada. Nelson cast off from here. Captain Cook sailed in the Endeavour from Deptford.
Of course.
As did Captain Bligh in the ill-fated Bounty.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Deptford was a rough old place, and you wouldn't want to wander those streets at night.
All right.
It was the sort of place you could get stabbed in a pub arguing over the bill.
Yeah, I know.
As happened to Christopher Marlowe.
Don't like it.
But if Deptford was shipyards, dark alleyways and knife crime, next door in Greenwich, it was stuccoed buildings, palaces and parks.
Yeah, I know.
And what a park! It was in Greenwich Park I got my first job. I was 15. It was the summer holidays. My mum's mate, who was an artist, had done this installation in the park of giant, multicoloured inflatable balls that you could walk through. My job basically involved collecting the money and making sure the punters took their shoes off before they went in. Word had got around and it was becoming very popular with the tourists. It was my first day and things were going really well when this gang of Herberts turned up from Deptford. I was kind of worried, but I was on a commission. So having made sure they took their shoes off, I let them in. Next thing, from behind me, I hear this terrible hissing sound. Turns out, true to form, the Deptford boys have stabbed the balls to death. I turn around, and there's a load of bewildered figures flailing about, draped in sagging, iridescent plastic. I went home. This enormous park was once the back garden of the Palace of Placentia, what the Tudors called home. Birthplace of that syphilitic nugget, Henry VIII, and both of his daughters, the future queens, Mary and Elizabeth. As kids, they played in this very park. Where the main palace once stood, in its place, they built the majestic Naval Academy, which you can still see to this day. The new Queen Mary wasn't too pleased that the Academy would block her view of the river, so they had to build it in two halves, with a bloody great gap in the middle. Yes, she made certain that the Palace of Placentia had a womb with a view. Thank you. And they built it with vast windows to allow for all the navel gazing.
Go on, Suggs. Go on, lad.
Thank you very much. I'm here all week. But of all the incredible things that happened here, the most incredible was the invention of time. Yes, my friends, Greenwich Mean Time. And the thing about the prime meridian is, well, longitude. It's such an abstract concept. Best left to Brian Cox and his infinite monkeys. As a blues guitarist once said to me, until I had to do a radio interview in the morning, I never realised there were two 10 o'clocks in one day. And from here, you can just about see further down the river the spikes of that massive tent, the Millennium Dome. An awesome structure that was going to replicate the Skylon and the hugely successful Festival of Britain in the 1950s. But they hadn't really worked out what they were going to put in it. Hello? Hello? Is there anyone here? But the O2, as it became to be known, turned out to be one of the best music venues in the world. And I can't tell you how pleased I was to be on stage in front of 16,000 adoring Madness fans, all jumping up and down, singing along. And as I looked to my left, I could see my family and all my mates waving their arms in the air. It's one of the best nights of my life. After the show, we decide we're going to head up west for a congratulatory drink in Soho. We've got the cars to take the family. Everyone's heading out arm in arm. But it turns out my mate Ed's got a boat on the jetty. He says, "Do you want to go up west in style?" My lovely wife Anne is worried. "I don't think it's a good idea, Suggs. The water's far too choppy and it's bloody cold. If you have an accident, you won't last 5 minutes in there." But I'm filled with post-gig adrenaline and a couple of beers. Oh, pish, it'll be fine. The high seas, here we come, the hearties. Me, Ed, and our mate, mustachioed Mike, pile onto the jetty. I have to say that when he said, "I'll take you in style," I was expecting something slightly more than a rib. Basically, an overpowered inflatable dinghy. And shiver me bloody timbers, Anne's right, it is cold. We bundle into the boat, and there's a twinkle in his eye when Ed sparks up the two enormous engines. Here we go, Sugsy! Yeah, I tell you what, there's no speed limit on this part of the river. We'll beat them by a mile. I'm hanging on to the sides for dear life, and Anne's words are ringing in my ears. But mate, I tell you what, ain't half beautiful going up the river at this time of night. Lovely to see London from this perspective, flying past with a spray on your face. Here, look, there's the Naval Academy. Oi, the bloody Cutty Sark. Isn't it beautiful? Look there on the right, see? That's the West India docks. Oi, there's the grapes. I've never seen it from the water before. Mustachioed Mike is mouthing wordlessly at me, and I realise he can't hear my fascinating narrative as my voice is lost in the wind. Eventually, Ed drops me off at Festival Pier because he's got to moor his boat in Chelsea and get a cab back. I climb up onto Waterloo Bridge and watch him zip off around the bend. I mean, what was Anne worrying about? What does she know? Well, what I didn't know was at the next bridge, the bow of a clipper hit the rib, which popped, throwing Ed and mustachioed Mike up into the air and into the water. Rumour has it, Ed survived by hanging on to Mike's fulsome moustache in the 5 seconds before the clipper's quick-witted crew threw in the life rings. They were very lucky to survive. Oblivious, I stand on Waterloo Bridge, staring dreamily back down old Father Thames. These waters have carried the plunder of nations, the finance of an empire.
Yeah, I know.
Seen pirates, lightermen, watermen, warships, battleships, clippers and barges. It's carried exotic goods from all over the world to feed the needs of Great Britain. The river has seen so much, been integral to the story of this nation, from the city to the docks and all the way out to the sea. Who'd have thought it? That dirty old river.
Oh, London gangsters.
Dirty old river, must you keep rolling, flowing into the night? People so busy, makes me feel dizzy. Taxi lights shine so bright.
I know. I like it.
But I don't need no friends. As long as I gaze on Waterloo sunset, I am in paradise.
Pair of dogs.
Every day I look at the world from my window. But chilly, chilly's evening time. Waterloo sunset's fine.
Sunset's fine.
Terry meets Julie, Waterloo Station, every Friday night. But I am so lazy, don't want to wander. I stay at home at night. But I don't feel afraid. As long as I gaze on Waterloo sunset, I am in paradise. Every day I look at the world from my window. But chilly, chilly's evening time. Waterloo sunset's fine.
Sunset's fine.
Millions of people swarming like flies round Waterloo Underground.
Yeah, I know.
But Terry and Julie cross over the river where they feel safe and sound. And they don't need no friends. As long as they gaze on Waterloo sunset, they are in paradise. As long as we gaze on Waterloo sunset, we are in paradise. I've been Suggs, and this was my love letter to London.
I hope you enjoyed that. That was a nice end to this weekend by me, DJ G, and your man there, Suggs, of this 22nd now it is. It's started on the 21st. It's now the 22nd. Moon Day, the 22nd of Feb. Have a great, fantastic, safe, sonic, sanitised week ahead. I will be immersing myself back into the usual, and we'll be back in touch very soon. You got brother Kevin looking after you, SPLS Pro Facebook. This will be uploaded to Tube for the realm to listen to. That was something of a surprise for you, I know. It wasn't scheduled. I thought I'd just blast in with a little bit of harmonics and phonics and sonics, the linguistics of the Docklands. Yes, if you enjoyed that, I might give you another one. I've got a couple more of those. Romans, boat people, gangsters, drugs, etc. Capers and chaos, as we call it. Brother Suggs, madness, house of fun, a few poems and a little bit of songs, eh? Once again, that was done by Owen of the Lewis family, directed by, written by. Then you've got the musical director Owen of the Parker fam, producer Richard of the Melvin clan, and it was a Dabster production. So I hope you enjoyed that. We love you, SPLs. Indi, scribes, when I upload this, all platforms, all clan, all extended bloodlines. Stay safe, stay loving, stay sovereigns, initiates of self. Watch out for the secretaries and generals, those lying government agents. Keep them peeled. Fact checkers, we're coming for you. Oh, here we are, Moon Day. It's bedtime, look. Much love. Thank you to all. Share it if you want, anywhere, all over the places. Cockney geezer, he's a real diamond geezer, a crowd pleaser, alright? See you later. Ciao bello, ciao bella.